broadcasting. Touchdowns. Shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback stacking. 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction?
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host, Eric, and I'm always joined by my co-host, Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. Ron, I mean, week 9, we're going into week 10. We should kind of know who the teams are now, but is it, I mean, how do you feel about week 10?
I feel pretty good, right? We talked about like where our teams are last week. I still think as far as the Steelers are concerned, they are very much in the thick of things. They are 5-3 along with the Browns and Cincinnati. They're both heating up right now. Baltimore is kind of like one game above. So it's a very competitive division. I feel good. I think a lot of people have Steelers on the outside at this point, but our schedule's so easy. I'm pretty confident that we can figure out a way to get into the playoffs.
Get into the playoffs. I always tell you that the Pats are not tanking. They're not a tanking team, and it's just a terrible team. I don't know what else to say. Just awful. I mean, at this point, can we just get in the top 5? If we can just get in the top 5 for next year's draft, we'll be okay.
But you pick them every week, though.
I pick them every week because I know that they're not laying down, right? Even though what's coming out of Massachusetts is like, oh yeah, this team is dead in the water. But I'm like, at least they're trying. They're like, it's a little engine that could. At least they're trying. But yeah, we don't know. So we're going to do a week 8 recap. We're going to go into the NFL news. We're going to do week 9. We're going to do our power rankings. And then we're actually going to do the QB rankings because we were talking about it before we started recording. There's just so many backups and the backups to the backups. And now I feel like it's diluted, right? The league is not the same with these wannabe number ones or wannabe number 2. So we'll talk about that in the beginning. But first, let's go into NFL news. And we were talking about this. So the All-Star game for college. So they have the Shrine Game, they have the Senior Bowl, but now they're making it a rule that if you're an underclassman, you can actually play. So we were talking, Ron, who is this going to benefit the most?
Yeah, so these are folks that still have to be draft eligible, so 3 years removed from high school, but not necessarily a junior or senior eligible to participate in these bowl games. So just in reading some of the statistics, you're talking about like 80 to 100 players or so that were not given that opportunity to get some visibility in those games. I think there's going to be some players that are good players, draft-worthy players, draft-eligible players that are going to be giving another opportunity to showcase what they can do for some NFL coaches in those games. So I think it's a good thing for the players, obviously, and then for the coaches too. They'll get to get their hands on, their eyes on some additional players.
But what about the risk factor? Who is taking on the risk where you can be picked in the first round or you can be picked in the 4th or 5th round? Is it worth it?
So for players, anyone that's in the first round, they're most likely not participating in these bowl games anyways, whether it's their team bowl games or the Senior Bowl or the Shriners Bowl. Most likely they're not participating in any of those games regardless. But for players that don't know where they fall, don't know where exactly they fall, know they're somewhere in that bubble to be drafted mid-rounds or potentially just not be drafted at all, it's those players that I think who want to participate, but they are taking a risk, right? So, you go out there and you play, you might end up getting hurt, whether it be at practice or the game. But, you do need to, it's like going for an interview. You want to, obviously be given a chance, an opportunity to show who you are. For most players, they're going to take that regardless, unless like you're a superstar. Superstars aren't going to do that.
Yeah, and you get to you get to talk to actual NFL coaches, learn the drills, have some kind of, relationship, start building relationship with the coaches. So to me, it's a win-win situation.
Definitely.
I think that because they might not even get to play in those bowls because there's somebody better than them, but the coach might see something, especially Bill Belichick. I think they might see something. And then Cole Strange might be drafted first round pick. Nobody saw that coming.
Listen, if undrafted players can make a name for themselves in the NFL, then I'm sure there's tons of players that do get drafted who don't make these bowl games that are worthy to be on an NFL roster. And it's a good thing to get them access to coaches and, in front of a, audience to view how good they are.
The other set of news, Justin Jefferson is practicing. Will this, because I know Dobbs won the first game, blah, blah, blah. Yes, great. But do they have any other competition for that wild card spot other than, I don't know, Dallas maybe? But then Dallas, we know, is probably going to get in there, right? So who's the other competition?
So I think the question is like, are they in? Do they have a realistic chance of getting in or no?
I think they have the realistic chance because after Philadelphia, what are the other teams?
So Philadelphia, Dallas most likely are in, right? Detroit for sure. Minnesota's sitting decent at 5-4. Then you got probably one team out of the NFC South, whether it be the Saints, the Bucks, Atlanta. I don't know who it's going to be. And then the NFC West, you got San Fran and Seattle. They're most likely locks. So you're really talking about teams like Minnesota at 5-4, or a team like Washington at 4-5, getting that last wild card spot. And to me, to be honest with you, I can see Washington having a better chance, even with as good as Dobbs have been, and even with Jefferson, being in his 21-day window now to being activated. I see Washington as having a better chance at 4-5 than I do at Minnesota being 5-4.
See, I would have a problem with that only because Washington is in a better division than the North.
That's true.
If you playing against Dallas and playing against Philly is different than playing against Green Bay and Chicago. So I think that this should benefit them. I just don't know, what Brian Flores is going to... I mean, obviously he loves to blitz, but that defense is going to, make or break what that team does.
Washington 0-3 in the division so far. So yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good at all. Anything else that you want to talk about in the NFL news that you want to get into before we move on?
I think that's it.
All right, so let's quickly recap week 8. Let's go to, we were just talking about, week 9. We were just talking about Washington at New England. I thought New England was, going to be able to score. Nope, they did not. It was 20. I had them 24-17. Final score was 20-17. You had New England winning. Oh, that's different. 21-20. Ron, you don't pick New England normally. Yeah. Why did you change?
I told you, I was on the fence with this game, and it wouldn't surprise me if Washington won. I think, listen, Washington is a good team. They're on that, they're on the fringe, basically, of being a playoff team. I really like Sam Howell. I do. I think he's a really good quarterback, and I think he's, for the most part, he's probably a better quarterback than Mac Jones, and we'll get into our quarterback rankings in a little bit. But I thought the team had a legitimate chance of winning. I'm not surprised that Washington pulled it off. I did pick New England to win by 1, but it doesn't shock me at all that Washington pulled it off.
I'm kind of shocked only because, and I'm not a Sam Howell devotee yet, but the fact that he put 300 yards on the Patriots, that's, usually they don't do that. Patriots don't do that. And the fact that there were so many third down that they completed. They went 9 for 17, but there was one play that was 3rd and 23, and I was like, all right, we're gonna stop them, right? Nope. So yeah, the defense let me down, especially the secondary for the Pats. And then of course it wasn't Mac Jones' fault. Juju Schuster-Smith is it's terrible. Terrible. We should have kept Jacoby Myers. Juju, I mean, he has I know there was the one writer was floating like, oh, his knees might give out. Forget about the knees giving out. This dude has no, electricity, no power. He's basically out there looking like an old man. So it's again, is it the personnel? Yes. Is it the draft? Yes. Is it Bill Belichick? Yes. At some point, not mid-season, at some point he'll walk away. I just don't know when. I just don't know if Robert Kraft wants to do that. But I mean, looking at this game, it was like the Steelers, but except we lost the game. 400 yards total to 300. They had the time of possession. They won it. It's just a lot of things that just didn't happen. And for a second there, we had the lead. I think it was 14-10. Normally, when we have the lead at halftime, it's an automatic win. Nope. We gave the lead. They scored 10 points in the second half. That's all she wrote. Yeah. So let's move on to the next game because this is so sad. Tennessee at Pittsburgh. This was a Thursday night game, Ron. I actually saw the second half of this game. You had it 17-13. I had it 14-17. Pitt winning. You had Tennessee winning. Final score was 16-20. Ron, this is your team. What happened?
Listen, we were off, like way off in that whole first half, right? Kenny he's played the same way the whole season. He's just been off. I don't know how else to put it. Lots of missed opportunities outside of the first drive, going right down and scoring right away. Lots of missed opportunities that first half. I thought, we did a good job of controlling Henry for the most part. Will Levi looks pretty good, especially the first half, first 3 quarters, I'd say, until the fourth. And we decided to lock him down. Joey Porter did a good job, covering, what's his name? DeAndre Hopkins. I don't think Hopkins had a catch at all in the fourth quarter. We just, we did just enough, and that's what this team has always been doing. I guess that's what our philosophy is just to do just enough to win. So 20-16. At one point, I forgot how much time was left on the clock, but it was either punt the ball and trust our defense, or to try to pick up a short fourth down, and we decided to punt, trust the defense, and defense came through at the end. So it was a very close game, very tight game for the most part. I thought we played better, but there's still lots of room for improvement for sure with the Steelers.
I mean, and we talked about this when we saw each other on Saturday. I was like, I saw so many stats about this team being outgained every game this season. But yeah, they have a winning record of 5-3. And then that game on Thursday, Will Levis, Titans couldn't get a third down. For some reason, they went 3 for 13 the whole game. They just couldn't get a third down. So if you got them on third down, you can get them off the field. They only scored 3 points in the second half. So it was definitely Steelers football.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is Matt Canada called a great game. For 2 games in a row now, I can tell you that Matt Canada has called a good game. I've had no issues with the play calling. What has been missing is the execution. And whether it's players, miscommunication, Kenny being off, there's a lot of Kenny just not being on target. He needs to play a lot better, and that's why I wanted to have that conversation about QB rankings and where they're at. He needs to be better, and I'm hoping he can turn it around these next few weeks.
Ron, what was your upset special?
So for last week, week 9, my upset special was Seattle beating Baltimore 27-24. I had a bad feeling about that game. As high as I've been all year on Baltimore, I don't know why I picked against them. They obviously blow out Seattle. What was the final score? 37-3. It was just a bad call by me. Baltimore is a great team, really good team. No one's really talking about them like they should be. That was my game, and I lost that upset special.
Yeah, don't feel too bad because I don't think I've hit on my upset special this year. I had Rams over Green Bay because Green Bay has let me down so many times, especially Love. I had them winning 20-14, but it was 3-20. I knew that Stafford wasn't playing, but I still went with the Rams for that game because I've been so disgusted by Love. And it wasn't that he was great in during this game, but I mean 20 points to 3, it's a blowout. The Rams weren't even trying, so that's what it is. I can't change my mind on that. That blowout. Let's go into week 10 and let's go into our power rankings before we do the week 10 prediction. Ron, who do you have as your power rank?
Yeah, so I got Philly at number 1, no change there. I moved Baltimore up to number 2. I had them at number 4 last week. I got Detroit coming in at number 3. That's where they were last week as well. Kansas City, I moved up to 4. They were 5 last week. And then I have Cincinnati for the first time, I think, in my top 5 rankings. So Cincinnati's 5. Miami has fallen out. Miami previously number 2. They were the ones who have fallen out. And, I thought I'm on the fence with Miami. I don't know what to think of them sometimes. They have not beating like any good teams, like you've mentioned multiple times. And I'm wondering, are they really overrated at this point? And maybe their ranking should be a lot lower than I'm giving them credit for.
I mean, that Kansas City game that they played, I feel like a lot of their faults was exposed. There was a lot of things that when they don't play at home, for some reason, they're not in sync. It's weird. And, obviously that fumble recovery touchdown changed things, but it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it is a lot of hype, And we'll talk about my power rankings next. Ron, these are my top 5. So basically is exactly the same as last week, except for Miami, of course. So we have Philadelphia, have Baltimore, have Jacksonville, have Detroit, and then I have Kansas City sneaking in on the 5th. But you can actually convince me and say it's Cincinnati. But
would you put Cincinnati over Kansas City?
Yes, I think maybe I want to see more of Cincinnati before I put them in my top 5. But, going back to that whole Miami thing, I don't know about this team. I don't know about the defense is still very shaky. I mean, the offense, great. I have no qualms about it, but it takes a while for them to get going. I feel like, I don't know. It's just strange. To me, it's like, I think that they can win the East, but are you really gonna let Buffalo win the division? I don't know. And they haven't. I think they have played one game at Buffalo. The next game gonna be in Miami. So I don't know. It's like, how many AFC teams do you have? You have 3 AFC teams, 2 NFC teams, basically the same thing as me. I don't know. It almost feels like the AFC is slowly taking over, right? Because you have Cincinnati and I have Cincinnati at maybe at 6, 7. I feel like AFC teams are moving up.
Yeah, and so right behind Cincinnati for me, you got them in your top 5 is Jacksonville. So, Jacksonville is a team that's probably in that conversation for sure. To be the best teams in the AFC. So, There's a lot of good talent for sure. The teams just aren't living up to it. Yeah, Buffalo, for example, they're 5-4. There's no reason they shouldn't be better, but they're 5-4 right now. So teams, I think that it's taking some time for some of those teams to get going. And I think it's going to be a really competitive division this year for the AFC.
Yeah, we have what? This is week 10, so we have 8 games left.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this 8 games, whoever gets hot in these 8 games will win the division. Whether it's Miami or the Buffalo, they're going to win the division. The AFC North is just going to be a battle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this week is a good week because we got Baltimore against Cleveland. That's a good game. Then we have the Bengals. I think they're playing the Texans. I mean, it's a lot of good games this week for the AFC. Anyway, so I'm excited about this Sunday. So let's get into the QB ranking. So I want you.
We're gonna do our picks though for the week, or
before we go there, let's do our picks. So let's go to week 10. We got Miami. We got New Orleans. Sorry, I am all over the place. Indianapolis at New England, but this game is in Germany. I have New England winning 21-20. Ron, what do you say?
I got New England winning 20-17. And surprised, I know you've been picking New England a lot. Not surprised that you have them winning, but I see you're coming back down to earth with this point spread. Indy's favored.
1.5. Yep.
Do you think it's going to be a close game?
No.
You have a close. You got 21-20. So
I have a 21-20, but I feel like either New England blows out Indy or vice versa. I think the over under is 43, but I feel like one of these teams is gonna blow out. Of course, I want New England to do it, but
so you're not confident.
I'm not confident. Every game going on, I'm not gonna be confident. I'm not gonna be confident.
Yeah, I got 20-17. I'm not confident. I think New England can beat them though. They're certainly talented. Washington was talented too. I don't think the Colts are as talented as Washington. Outside of Taylor, if they can control Taylor, the Pats are going to win the game, and I think they should be able to do that this week.
Yeah, this is like the very lowest where you're not 100% sure that this team wants to be there. Either they we already saw that about JC Jackson staying home, which not to my surprise, he's always been kind of like I call him a habitual line stepper. He tries to go to the edge, and I think he thought he could do that with Bill Belichick, and now, no man, I'm saying.
No, he got paid though.
He got paid by San Diego.
Yeah, Raiders.
LA Chargers are paying him.
Chargers, yeah.
Green Bay at Pittsburgh. Ron, what do you have?
Yeah, so listen, we talked about Pittsburgh having a decent schedule, and this is a game that most people will say Pittsburgh is going to win. They're favored by 3.5. I don't feel confident in this game at all. I think this is a trap game for Pittsburgh. I think, not to say Jordan Love is great, but I think he'll make sufficient throws. And I think the running game from Green Bay is going to create some issues, especially with the Steelers losing one of their linebackers this past week. Minka's still not playing, not being eligible to play. Well, he's eligible. He's most likely not going to play this week, but I got Green Bay winning 26-23 in an upset here.
So again, are you doing some kind of reverse jinx? So last week you picked against the Pittsburgh, and this week you picking against the Pittsburgh again. I have Pittsburgh winning 17-10. Now, again, their favorite is 3.5. They're at home. Again, it's just a different atmosphere, and I don't think Love has it in him to actually go on the road and win a game. I know he just won last week, but that was at home. That was against the LA Rams.
I just watched Will Levis, whatever his name is. If he could have mounted a one drive at the end, they win. The Tennessee Titans win the game. He just couldn't pull it off. So I think it'll be a close game, and I think Jordan can make a few throws. There's still a lot of questions about the Steelers secondary. I think there's going to be plays to be made for Green Bay, and I think people are going to be shocked if the Steelers lose, and I think that's what's going to happen this week.
Have you watched Jordan Love play any game? Mm-hmm. He misses receivers left and right, up high, and the wide open receivers.
I've seen Kenny Pickett do that.
Kenny Pickett has weapons, though. Kenny Pickett can run the ball. He can go short of Deontay Johnson. This dude is missing people wide open. He's a terrible quarterback. Terrible quarterback. He's, almost in the Mac Jones class, and we'll talk about it when we do our rankings. I feel like he's definitely not ready. He definitely has the arm strength. Don't get me wrong. He has all the tools, and I wish he would just run the ball. Mm-hmm. He has legs, so why not run? But I don't know what's going on. He's not developed yet, but yeah, I would have at least kept Rodgers for one more year, even though his salary was going to be ridiculous, but the dude's not ready. That's all I got to say about it. He's not ready. What's your upset special?
So I'm back on Washington, right? So they're at Seattle. Seattle's favorite at home, 6.5. I got Washington going in. I think they're a good team on that playoff bubble, if you will. This is going to be one of the games you're going to look back and say, Washington turned the corner and they made themselves a legitimate team. So I got them winning 24-21.
I have Cleveland at Baltimore. Baltimore is favored by 6 points. I have Cleveland winning 17-14, and I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan. I just think that, listen, Lamar Jackson, I love the guy. The guy makes plays. But last week against Seattle, he basically didn't do anything.
He put up 37 points. I don't think he
didn't put it. They ran the 37 points because he didn't score a touchdown.
Don't matter.
Yeah, exactly. So he's supposed to be the MVP of that team.
He is.
But yet you don't score on a blowout.
Don't need to.
I'm saying there's something there. I don't know. Cleveland has a really, really good defense. And Seattle and Cleveland defenses are up. There's two different spectrums. I have them winning this game. I think that they're going to pressure Lamar Jackson. I just don't see it. That's my upset special. Now, have I been hitting my upset specials? No. This might be one of them. So, yeah. I have Cleveland winning. So let's go to the QB ranking. And as I told you earlier, I broke it down into 4 tiers. We have the top 10 QBs. We have the 10 to 20. Then we have the 21 to 30. And then we have the tier that you should never, ever even think about snapping a ball to one of these guys. So, Ron, who are your top 10?
Yeah, so let's go through this because I see some surprises on here, probably for both of us. But I got Lamar Jackson at number 1. And by the way, to level set, so these are quarterbacks. If I was starting a team, right, this is how I would rank just based on their performance. Take injuries out of the picture right now. This is who the quarterbacks I'd want to start my teams with, basically. That's how I'm looking at it. So Lamar Jackson 1, Mahomes 2nd, Hurts 3rd, Burrow 4th, Josh Allen 5th, Rodgers 6, Herbert 7, Stafford 8, Cousins 9, and Goff at number 10. Take age out of it too, because if you add age, Rodgers probably wouldn't be on the top 10, but take the age out of it for a second and just say how good do you think these guys are?
Yeah, and the only issue that I see is you have Cousins. I don't have Cousins. I actually have Stroud, and that's really that's the surprise for me. So I'll let you go through your top 10, and then we'll talk a little bit about Stroud. Yeah, I have Burrows, Jackson, Mahomes, Hurts, Herbert. Allen, Goff, Prescott, Stroud, and Rodgers.
Yeah, so the two differences there, Stroud, rookie, you had that's the high expectations. We talked earlier, before we started. I've seen Purdy start off as hot, not necessarily in the statistics, but in terms of like the hype and him being an MVP, and he's fallen back to reality. Well, that happened to Stroud. Is Stroud really this good, or is this just about lots of teams not seeing him in action?
I think he is that good because Purdy had weapons, right? He had Kittle, he has Debo, he has McCaffrey. You can't say that about Stroud. There's nobody that jumps from you out of the page with Texans that you go, wow.
They got some decent receivers.
Yes, but they're not superstars, basically. Yes, he has decent, very good receivers, but they're not superstars. He's doing this all by himself. So that's why he cracked the top 10 for me.
You got Prescott in there too. I left him off my top 10. Most people probably have him somewhere in the top 10.
Yeah, I also like Prescott. Yep, I don't have a problem with Prescott. I know when it comes down to like the nitty gritty, the pressure cooker, he'll have a oops, I did it again type moment, but I think he's a top 10 quarterback. All right, Rondo, who do you have from 11 to 20?
So I got Trevor Lawrence. I got Prescott at number 12. Tua at number 13. Struggle with that one, where exactly to put him. Geno at 14. Stroud I put at 15. I put Dobbs at 16. Purdy at 17. Howell at 18. Carr at 19. And Mayfield at 20.
Yeah, why put Dobbs at 16? Why so high?
Yeah, probably is high, and I know he's played for a lot of teams, but I just think he's a pretty good quarterback that just, for whatever reason, the teams that he's ended up on have been teams that have drafted a quarterback recently and basically proclaimed them the starter, and he's been like a serviceable backup. But every time he goes in there, he seems to play pretty well. Now, do you want him as your full-time starter? I think that's where the question is. Maybe 16 is a little bit too high, but from the way he's played, from the way I've seen him play, I think he's been a pretty serviceable quarterback.
Yeah, but I don't think he should be in the top 20. I think, like you said, if you're starting a team, are you really starting with Dobbs?
I would definitely want him on my team as probably the best backup in the league.
Probably just as a backup. You're like, backup maybe just NFL. As a backup. All right, so my 11 to 20, I have a Tua, defending Watson, Lawrence, Cousins, Purdy, Stafford, your boy Pickett, Carr, Levis, and Carr. And is it Carr twice? No, that's not sure. So I actually would have Pickett starting in my 20.
I got a lot of beef with this list right here for your 11 through 20. So Pickett has been horrible. Only 6 touchdowns all season. Not all of it his fault. Obviously, a lot of blame on Canada. But to have him in your top 20, I think is outrageous.
Because the reason why he's in there is because he doesn't, from what I've seen, he's not going to cost you the game. He turned the ball over, but not in the third and fourth quarter. I feel like that's what you want your quarterback to do. Just don't cost us the game, and you'll be fine. We have weapons. We have Najee. We have Pickens. Just, you're not going to do it all by yourself. And I think he does that. He does that definitely for the Steelers.
Yeah, but I think you're underestimating how many turnovers our defense have played a part in our wins too. So,
So you would rather have Dobbs over Pickett?
I think our team would be better than 5-3 with Dobbs as our starter this year than Pickett.
I don't know about that.
I think so.
I don't know about that because
I trust Dobbs more than I trust Pickett today.
When Cousins comes back, Dobbs is going to lose his job.
Yeah, sure.
So
that's part of the game.
Why say Pickett is lesser than Dobbs?
I'm not saying Pickett doesn't have more potential. I'm just saying where they're at right now. I think Dobbs, I trust more. And still a lot of unanswered questions about how good is Pickett going to be? I have faith that he'll be good, but there's still question marks for sure.
Well, is he going to get an extension?
Who?
Pickett?
Well, too early to tell. I know that's we want to get into that conversation. This is his second year, 20-something games in. I think he's without a doubt, he'll be around this year, next year for sure. If he doesn't improve on what he's shown so far in these first 2 years, he's not. They're going to start looking for a quarterback, if not next year, the year after for sure, rather than extending him for a fifth year.
Ron, who do you have 21 to 30?
Yeah, before I get into that, though, some other questions I have here. So, Defendant Watson, you got all the way up at number 12. And I know Deshaun is kind of like a polar person, right? What has he done in the last 2 years to have him at number 12?
Listen, you can say the same thing about Rodgers, and I have him on 10th. I think that...
Yeah, but Rodgers at least played up until this year. He was, hurt. But
yeah, but Watson was good with Houston Texans.
He was, but that was 2 years ago. 3 years ago, right?
Still better than, having Dobbs in there. And I think, he'll eventually will come back to the Browns. I don't know if he's coming back this year, but I think he can get to where he used to be.
I don't see that. I don't think he'll ever be the same player he was when he was with the Texans. He's 3 years removed now from being a superstar. If I'm Cleveland, I'm worried that I spent all that money because he showed me nothing the last 2 seasons that he has played. So,
well, I don't count last year because last year he was still getting the hang of it.
Sure, whatever.
But this year, he's hurt. He's not hurt. Yeah. He's doing the whole back and forth thing. I don't know.
And then the year before that, he didn't play the whole season. So that's why I don't have him in my top 20 because I just haven't seen enough of him at all, I guess.
Wait, well, you have Dobbs because he's having a good 1 year as a backup?
Dobbs. Listen, Dobbs.
That's what I mean. You're comparing Watson and Dobbs.
Dobbs has been good though. Every time, look at last year how he played, and the year before that.
Who did he play for last year?
Was it Baltimore at one point?
No, you can't have a journeyman and compare him to Watson and be like because he's
Watson has not played. And when he played, he has not looked good.
I don't think so. That's the only one that I disagree with.
And then you got Will Levis, 19.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2 games in. I think it's hard to rank him. I just haven't seen enough. I wouldn't put him that high at this point.
I would put him that high because if I was starting a football team, he would be my quarterback over Dobbs. Sure. Over Dobbs for sure.
21 to 30?
Yep.
So I got Russell Wilson, Mac Jones, Deshaun Watson at 23. 24, I got Kenny Pickett, Gardner Minshew, Jordan Love, Daniel Jones, Desmond Ridder, Ryan Leaf at 29, and Zach Wilson at 30.
Why would you put Ridder at 28? He just lost his job to Heineke, and not due to injury.
So
just does that make back QB?
Does that make Heineke better than him? Who's better than him than I have below Ridder? Is Tannehill better? Is Zach Wilson better? Is Garoppolo better? Maybe Tyrod Taylor has Justin Fields been better?
I mean,
is Will Levis
you have Levis at 34? Why not?
It's 2 games.
But at least he's starting. At least the coach sees a future with this guy.
Yeah, listen,
Ridder, there's no future. He might lose his job permanently.
The coach sees a future in every player that's played 2 games. So if Levis goes out and lays an egg for the next 3 weeks?
He lays an egg while playing. Ridder's laying an egg without playing.
But at least what my point is. You know exactly where Ridder is. You know what he is. You know what his good qualities are.
Not 28.
That's where he is. He's the fringe NFL starter versus most likely backup, right?
So you think Dobbs was better than Ridder?
Absolutely. I would take Dobbs over Ridder. Absolutely. Wow. I think you're sleeping on Dobbs, how good he is. I think you're sleeping on him.
Well, I don't know who they play this week, but we'll see more Dobbs for sure. And we'll see if he come through.
Yeah.
I have Wilson, I have Smith, I have Howell, I have Garoppolo, I have Dobbs, Mayfield, Mac Jones, Minshew, Tannehill, and Love. And Love just barely made it.
Yeah.
On this tier.
I don't have a lot of issue with some of the players you have here. Mac Jones being 27, I had him at 22. I think he's better than. Does he make stupid throws? Absolutely. But can he put games where he's throwing the ball right on the money and players are just dropping it? Yes, I've seen a lot of that too. Geno Smith.
Wait, let me just look, because you have Mac Jones above Pickett.
Yes.
But Pickett has won more games,
Forget
right?
about the wins. Our defense is better. Our defense has at least had more turnovers for sure and won games for the Steelers, right? If you had the Steelers making...
Right, but doesn't Pickett have like 6 comebacks already? Mac Jones has none.
You're cherry picking statistics.
And I'm just saying, like, why? What makes him better than Jones?
How many touchdowns does Jones have?
Probably less than 10.
Okay, so Pickett has 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 8 games. What exactly? He's averaging, I think, like maybe 200 yards, 195 yards per game. He's not doing much.
You said Matt Canada is a reason for that.
That he's part of the reason.
What's Mac Jones' reason? He has 3 different.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
He's still
no coordinator
terrible.
last year whatsoever, right? That's just as bad as having Matt Canada in my eyes, right? And then this year, like, I think he's had a better opportunity. I think he's played better than people are giving him credit for. I think his receivers have been horrific. And I do think, don't get me wrong, the mistakes he's made have been benchable mistakes. Like, you can't throw the ball across the field.
Very benchable.
Yeah. So I absolutely agree he needs to improve. I absolutely agree Kenny needs to improve. I think Mac is playing better ball than Kenny when I look at the two of them.
Not according to the record.
Forget it. We can't look at record. I'm
yes,
just talking
you can.
about.
This is how MVP is determined.
You gotta look at like the eyeball.
You can put up
test.
as many. You can put up. You can be
the eyeball test, man.
You can have tons of stats at the end of the year, but if your team's terrible, they're not gonna be like, you know what? At least he put up. His stats were awesome this year.
Yeah.
Too bad his team was horrible.
Yeah,
they're not gonna. They don't look at your record, and then
so then
New England's record is 2-7.
You sound like someone who's okay with like Trent Dilfer because Baltimore won all those games and won the Super Bowl. That's what you sound like. You're okay with Trent Dilfer.
I'm okay because
at the end
Trent
of the day, he got wins. Even though his like stats weren't anything great.
Yep.
You're okay.
He definitely didn't get an MVP, but you know what? He won the Super Bowl.
No, Mac is playing better. I'm not saying he's a better quarterback than Pickett. He's playing better than Kenny Pickett.
But you have him ranked higher than Pickett.
What's that?
You just say you're not saying that he's not a better quarterback, but you have him ranked higher than Pickett.
I'm saying Mac is playing better right now than Kenny Pickett. I have Mac at 22, Kenny at 24. That's what I see. Kenny has to improve. He has to get better.
So if you were starting a football team, would it be Mac Jones or Kenny Pickett?
I would. I've told you this plenty of times. I think Mac Jones is a great quarterback. I think he's a top.
You would take Mac Jones over
Absolutely.
Pickett?
I would definitely take Mac Jones over Kenny Pickett.
Even after what we've seen in the last...
Absolutely. Hey, would you have taken Jared Goff in his first year? No one would. Now he's in your top 10.
He was like a number 1 pick.
But no one would have taken based on his performance. That just goes to show you end up in a shitty situation, you get shitty results. You go to some place where, you got the right coach, the right coordinator, it works. The light bulb comes on. That's the problem with Mac Jones. That's been the problem for the past 2 years.
We all know Mac Jones.
That's the problem with Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett's in a bad situation. He needs to improve too. I just think Mac Jones is a better player, not much better, but a better quarterback right now. The other thing so not to spend a lot of time, but the other question I had, I guess, was you having Wilson all the way at 21. And I had him at 30. I think Wilson has a lot of talent. He just hasn't been consistent. And then Garoppolo, you have at 24. Another guy. So you talk about players who've been benched. So I have him all the way at 31. You have at number 24. for your team.
Yeah, this is, I mean, technically, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do R. Wilson instead of Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to do Zach Wilson. So yeah, to me, I think that there's some Zach Wilson has a better arm than Mac Jones, and yes, his processing is very bad, but I feel like there's more potential with Zach Wilson than there is Mac Jones.
And so every quarterback has an issue. Zach Wilson, lots of arm talent, athletic, can make great throws, look like an NFL, but then you have that like, what are you doing moment. Same thing with Mac Jones. Mac Jones is very accurate, right? Highly intelligent, but then he makes stupid mistakes.
I don't know. Outside the 20s, he's not very accurate, though.
You don't think so?
No. No, it's been proven that outside the numbers, the defenses now are playing him. They want him to throw outside the numbers because they know that he's not accurate. Inside the numbers, he's great. Short passes, he's great. Outside the numbers, not so much. All right, Ron, this is the last tier. This is people that you should not be starting a team, starting anything with it. Who do you have?
Yeah, not starting a team or have lots of questions on for me. So Garoppolo, I think, I wouldn't start a team with him. Tyrod Taylor is a backup. Justin Fields, too many questions about his quarterback play. Yeah, he can run. I don't know. Will Levi is just a lot of questions. I put him at 34 just because I just don't know. And then Bryce Young has been horrible so far, but it's his rookie year. You expect him to have some growing pains. So that rounds out my bottom 5.
I pretty much have the same people, except you have Daniel Jones at 27th. I have Daniel Jones all the way to 34. Listen.
You have a personal hate for the Giants.
This guy,
Daniel Jones.
Common sense. That's all I'm saying. Common sense. If I was the common sense person in that meeting, I'd be like, why are we giving Daniel Jones all this money? After, 3 years, 4 years with the team, and we still know that, yes, he's a fine runner, but he fumbles, interceptions, all that is like,
and that's what I want to talk about.
Why do you have him at 27?
Our guys are going to be, not this year, but next year, we're going to be having the same conversations. Are we going to give Mac Jones or Kenny Pickett
I already told him Mac Jones not getting extended. If Bill Belichick is still coaching the team, he's not getting extended.
What if he improves to be a average quarterback, like a good to average?
No, he's going to play out his contract. I'm just saying.
What if he puts up decent numbers?
What's decent numbers? Like Sam Howell numbers?
Yeah, so Sam Howell numbers, but they still don't win. Then what?
He's still not getting the extension. Not in my eyes.
So then you're back to searching for a quarterback. Yep. And hoping that someone pans out.
Either through free agency or the draft.
When has free agency ever
Look at Kirk Cousins. It worked out just fine for him.
Well, I get it. Well, that's how long ago was that? How long ago was that?
2-3 years ago, maybe? I don't know. I just feel
much longer than that.
It's out there. If you know that Pickett might not get an extension, Mac Jones might not get an extension, and look at Geno Smith. He went to free agency. He's not having the same year he did last year, but I'm just saying it can happen, and it happened. If I go all the way back, it happened with the Giants when they got Jeff Hostetler and he won a Super Bowl. I'm just saying it can happen. Yes, this is not like locked down, like, hey, this is our quarterback for the next 10 years. I feel like times are changing. And
so at what point, because that's where I'm trying to get to the heart to. At what point do NFL teams say, this guy isn't good enough, we got to make a decision, despite him having a lack of playing time? Is that like players that are ranked 20 and lower, regardless of like how much they've played or the coordinator situation? Is it guys that are 25 and lower? Like, at what point do you say?
If we look at our list and we look at the guys that are 20 and lower, most of them are in like the second or third contract. What? Mayfield, 3rd team. Garoppolo, 3rd team.
But they've got contracts and they're the starters, except for Garoppolo now.
Except Geno Smith, I don't know what team this is for him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it does happen, but...
And those teams, but the point is, those teams did not go for other quarterbacks, right? So Raiders had a chance to draft, they went with Garoppolo. Tampa had a chance to draft, they went with Mayfield. Seattle had a chance to draft, they gave Geno a contract. So is that where is Mac Jones and Kenny Smith going to be right there in that bubble where the team's just going to say, you're not a superstar, but you're good enough, right?
I feel like they'll find jobs because they're definitely good enough. I'm not saying that they're terrible quarterbacks. They're definitely good enough. I just feel like New England has a different standard. Pittsburgh has a different standard.
Since when did New England have a different standard?
Since Bill Belichick was there.
You've had Tom Brady and that's it. Like there was life with the Patriots before Tom Brady, right? So
yeah, Drew Bledsoe, and he took us to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying that.
But what was the standard in terms of like giving up on quarterbacks before Tom Brady? Like,
well, Bill Belichick, that's what it is. Since Bill Belichick is still there, he's gonna have a standard. So it's like.
But does that mean, I guess, like give up on a player like Mac Jones, who you drafted in the 1st round after 3 years? I guess that's the heart of the question.
Not after 3 years. He'll play out his his contract.
He'll play
his contract. I just feel like 4 years is good enough. Not especially this cheap at a rookie contract. 4 years is good enough. 4 years, you know what you have. You don't know what you have. Like we know that barring injury, barring like some kind of crazy, they don't make the playoffs. We know that Stroud is going to be there for a while. Levis, if barring any kind of strange injury or he just goes berserk, we know he's going to be in Tennessee for a couple of years.
I don't know if I can confidently say.
At least if Brable's there, because Brable drafted him, he's going to be there.
It's not like Will Levis is like, Will Levis went in the 2nd round for a reason, right? Great arm, yes. Wildly inaccurate in college, right? Not the smartest player in college. It's not like he's a top 5 pick. He's not. So I think there's still a lot of questions about Will Levis. And if you were to tell me 2 years from now that he was a flop, I'm not going to be shocked. It's not going to shock me. Same thing with Kenny Pickett. If you tell me 3 years from now Kenny Pickett was a flop, I'm not going to be overly shocked. But that happened. He's not a superstar.
I don't think Pickett is going to be a flop. I don't think Levis is going to be a flop. I think that they're going to be, right where I ranked them. They're going to be just good enough to play in the NFL and just good enough to like win you some games. I just don't feel like you're going to win a Super Bowl with Levis. I don't feel like you're going to be a Super Bowl with Mac Jones. That's just not going to happen.
So, but you think, what about Kenny Pickett?
I mean, because the defense is so good, unless he improves, because I'll be honest with you, the Steelers are not winning the Super Bowl this year. That's just it. But Pickett gets better. Yes, I can definitely see that. I can see that for them. I just don't feel like this is the year they're going to do it.
Are the Patriots drafting a quarterback anywhere between, in any round next year? Whether it's second,
that all
third,
depends
fourth, fifth
on
round?
whether Bill Belichick is there. Because if Bill Belichick is there, he's not gonna mess up this cheap contract he has with Mac Jones.
I find that hard to believe, considering he's drafted quarterbacks.
He's drafted who?
Who did he draft this year? Did he draft a quarterback this year and last year?
To play wide receiver.
And he drafted Cunningham to play receiver?
Yes.
Okay, but then he drafted what's
Zappy, and then he cut him.
So it's like, cut?
Yes.
I thought he was on the roster still.
So
I don't think Bill Belichick is afraid to pull the trigger on a quarterback.
He's not, but that's what I'm saying. Is like, why would you mess up a rookie contract because you don't like the dude when you can have him around for 2 years? Build your defense where it's a top 10. It's always been a top 10, not this year. Normally it's in the top 10. So like, why mess up that? Why mess up?
I can see Bill going in the draft again, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, whatever it is. Now let's see what this guy is. I kind of like him. I saw him at practice at the Senior Bowl. I really like him. Why not? I think he can make our roster and maybe even be a little bit better than what I'm getting with Mac Jones.
I only see that if we get top 5. I don't see that if
top 5 picks. Yeah,
I don't see that if we get in like. I mean, I know that we picked them to win this week, but if they win over and under, it's 5 games. So if they win 5 games, they're not gonna be in the top 5. So
I don't see the Patriots pick, even if they're anywhere in the top 10. I still don't see them picking a quarterback. I don't think they're gonna give up on Mac Jones that quickly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's gonna happen now.
But what I'm saying though, you still should maybe take a look and consider it, even if it's in the later rounds, just based on what you've seen up at this point.
I mean, if he likes somebody, yes, why not? Why not? But he gets a top 10 pick. I see a lineman somewhere in the top 10. Yeah, so
I can tell you for sure the Steelers will be drafting a quarterback either next year or the year after. It's not going to be in the first 2 or 3 rounds, but just out of necessity, Rudolph contract expires. Trubisky, his contract expires. They're not going to sign him again for $11 million. They've seen enough of that. So they got no backups next year. So my assumption, they were probably going to want a veteran come in from somewhere, but it wouldn't shock me if they took a flyer on someone in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
I mean, that's what the Steelers do, right? They basically get receivers, even though they have good ones, and they get a QB. I just feel like you can, unless you really, really like a QB, you're going to draft them. But if you have other needs, you go over other needs. And I think Mac Jones is, like Bill said, he can play in the NFL. Is he your superstar, top 10 list? No, he's not going to make it.
By the way, you know who Dobbs was drafted by?
Who?
The Steelers.
And the Steelers let him go, right?
Yeah, it was stupid.
Yep.
Even Big Ben was like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you get rid of Dobbs? He's a good player. You invested a draft pick. Why would you? It made no sense. No sense whatsoever.
Yeah, it's this year, there's a lot of drop off. Once you reach 20, it's just a huge drop off. And
for sure. Once you hit 10, really, 12 or 13, there's a drop off.
Yeah, it's just a big drop off. And I feel like you can get a decent quarterback when they make roster cuts or when they make, whatever. I don't feel like it's a must. It's a necessity, especially if you have, Pickett or Mac Jones or, still on the rookie contract. You don't need to, if your offensive line is shitty, you don't need to draft, a top 5 QB if you already have one of these guys on the contract.
Fix everyone around them is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, get them some weapons. Bill, I saw somebody tweeted that Marvin Jones Jr., but he's gonna be gone by the time we pick. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we just. I mean, we definitely agree that there's a big drop off for quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, I'm surprised overall where you had Penny for sure, and to be honest, how low you had Mac. Those 2 things surprised me.
Yeah, he's just serviceable. He's just a serviceable QB. I mean, yes. What would he do if he switched with Tua, and what would he do if he switched with someone else that actually had weapons? Maybe a different person.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly right.
The fact that doesn't happen, and that's a hypothetical, and that is not what the eyes and the record tells you. The eye sees the cross the body throws. The eye see you basically throwing a ball that is 10 seconds in the sky and then getting picked by a Miami defender. It just...
I also sees a perfect 50-yard throw that your receiver just doesn't make the catch on too.
Well, that's not Pickett's fault then. That's just the receiver.
I'm talking about Mac Jones.
Well, then that's not Mac Jones' fault. That is the personnel. So, yeah, I agree that where you go kind of rounds out where you are, but if you go to a team that has and the Pats had a pretty decent defense before the injuries occurred, but if you go to a team that tells you, the coach tells you, All you have to do is not turn the ball over. Every game, except for maybe one victory against the Jets, every game he's turned the ball. Every game. So, listen, this is what's gonna happen. You're not a good QB. The defense is not up to par like it usually is. We're 2-7. So, Ron, what do you want to say to the Steelers week 10? I know you picked them to lose, but what do you want to say?
Listen, trap game. I hope they come out, take this game serious. I saw something where like literally every person on the panel picked the Steelers to win. Lots of injuries. The team is not as good as their record. I think everyone knows that. They got to show me something on offense. I think they will do a little bit better on offense, but the defense is what I'm worried about. I think Green Bay has the talent in the run game and a couple receivers just to do enough to be a pain in the butt for the Steelers and to pull off an upset.
Yeah, I think I just don't see Green Bay pulling the upset. I do see New England pulling the upset. I do see. I mean, if you live on the West Coast, should you wake up at 6:30 and watch this game? No, absolutely not. You should not. Even if you're a Pats fan, you should not. And my buddy Sean lives in San Diego. Don't wake up. Don't wake up for this game. But I will say this. This Sunday, we went to the BFS, and I knew Sunday I wasn't going to have 2 days in a row where like, oh, guess what? All day I'm going to watch football. So yeah, take the kids. That's unrealistic, right? So I watched the Tampa Bay Houston game. It lived up to its hype. Mm-hmm. It lived up to its hype, and it made me into a CJ Stroud believer. Now it's not.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
I am gourding myself with the Kool-Aid.
Enjoy it. But lots of people did too for Purdy. Keep drinking it. This
is not the Purdy situation. You keep comparing the Purdy.
This is not the Purdy situation. You cannot make wholesale judgment or decisions on somebody who's played like 6 games, 7 games, whatever it's been. Like, let's, simmer down. He's played well.
He's played well. They're 4-4. They're in second place in the AFC. They're 1 win away from tying your Steelers. Mm-hmm. And according to you, they're going to lose this week. So,
they beat the Steelers.
And they beat the Steelers. Yeah. That's right. So I believe in this team, and I picked them as my wild card team. Mm-hmm. So I'm fully invested. Okay. Even though the Patriots are terrible, I think Houston might have a chance.
Okay.
And they face the Bengals this week. So maybe not this week because they're on the road against the Bengals, but I feel good about the Texans. Okay. I feel real good. So that's going to be the week 10 for this week. Will join us for week 11. In that case, I say peace.
Peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on shutyourmouthpodcast@gmail.com. That's shutympodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us on Twitter or on Instagram @SYM Podcast. Thanks again.